Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can visit our website, holybatcast.com, or you can find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. You will not find us on TikTok because I am over 40. I'm so sorry about that. If you're a fan of the show, you want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. As always, a big thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. You make our lives so much easier, and I hope you know it's appreciated. It truly is. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DeGenova. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram or on Letterboxd at Andy DeGenova. Especially Letterboxd right now because we're in Scarathon, so I'm logging those Scarathon choices. This episode, we got some stuff to talk about. We got some news. We got a little bit of HBOMax news. We got some casting for Joker 2. We've got some Blue Beetle news, and we have some news about the fate of DC FanDome, and even more. So much to talk about, more than I even thought, I think, before we started recording. Joining me for this is someone who is here more often than not. You know him, you love him. He gets up at 6 a.m., even on a Sunday, because he's an insane person, but we won't hold it against him. He might use motion smoothing on his TV, and if he does that, I cannot allow, but we love him anyway. It's Jamie Drewley. Hi, Jamie.
I use motion flow. I use, I don't know, I do color grading, hues, all kinds of stuff.
I don't think you use motion smoothing.
I don't know.
I think you would know. That's the whole point. You would know.
Okay.
It is.
I just play with the buttons on my remote, and once it gets to where the picture looks like I want it to look, I leave it alone. I don't even pay attention to my settings.
It's like the cable guy with the remotes, where like and you just get everything exactly how you want it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Welcome back. Happy
Thanks.
September.
Yes.
Got my pumpkin coffee. Of course I do.
I'm on iced tea this morning, but I did consume some what the heck was it? Apple cider donut cream cookies, which are like generic Oreos. And
okay.
We got these at Aldi. So y'all, if you got Aldi where you're at, go find these things because they're delicious.
Nice.
I know that's not quite pumpkin, but it's pumpkin adjacent.
It's okay. I embrace all the fall flavors.
Indeed.
I am not a fall flavorist. I'm open to all of it. So I appreciate the recommendation. Somebody who knows a lot about fall, and I bet he knows about cider donuts. That's my hunch, because he's up in Vermont. He's a good friend. I don't know if he's ever been on BatCast. We have certainly podcasted before on some of his shows. He's been on the Real Fans show when we talked about the Christmas Chronicles, but I don't know if he's been on BatCast. It's our friend Matt Spaulding. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Andy. No, I've never been on BatCast. This is my first time on BatCast.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I do know a lot about cider donuts. It's getting that time of year. Can't wait. And I just finished my pumpkin coffee. It's gone. Now I'm sad, but it's gone now. So
yeah. Here's the good news. There's always more. You can always get a second one. It's the weekend.
You can't get away from it right now. I mean, all you have to do is walk out your front door, and it's to the left of you, to the right of you, straight ahead of you.
Yep,
it's amazing.
It's perfect.
I love this time.
I also got the Walgreens next to my work had pumpkin spice vanilla body wash, so I bought some of that too. I'm gonna smell like pumpkin spice
good.
Now.
I can almost see a Walgreens from where I sit right now. So guess where I'm going?
There you go.
I use pumpkin pecan waffle body lotion. And so I just walk around smelling like a pumpkin and everyone can suck it.
That works.
I mean, if you smelled like pumpkin near me, I might just.
Oh, good morning. Oh, anyway, Matt, I can't believe you've never been on Holy BatCast, but it's good to have you.
Be here.
A few weeks ago, you said something about wanting to be on, and I was like, oh yeah, of course. It's just sometimes we just get tunnel vision.
Of course.
But it's great to have you, and yeah, Matt lives up in Vermont, like the place to live in the fall. I'm so jealous.
Here. Yeah. It was awesome.
I have. We actually met in person.
Yeah, the leaves haven't started to turn yet. It's not quite there yet, but I'm getting ready. I was just thinking the other day, I can almost go to the apple orchard.
Ooh.
Oh, it is that time. Yes. Ideal.
I just watched a fabulous Hallmark movie called Love, Fall, and Order. I think it was Love, Fall, and Order.
That
And it
sounds
all
right.
takes place in Vermont in fall. And I totally thought
Brendan was watching What Lies Beneath, I saw on the Real Fans group, and What Lies Beneath also takes place here. Unfortunately, I find What Lies Beneath to be a snooze fest, but hey, if he I hope he enjoys it. Yeah.
Hot take.
I'm with you, Matt. I'm sorry. That one didn't work for me.
You know what's funny is I liked it fine, but like, yeah, I mean, I'll agree.
There's
I don't
nothing
love it.
wrong with it from like a technical or acting standpoint. It's just slow. Nothing really happens.
Yeah.
That is the one with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay,
Zemeckis.
yeah, those two in a movie should not have me checking my watch while I'm sitting in the theater.
And it's long,
exactly
too. Like, not only is it slow and uneventful, it's a long movie. So, and it's Robert Zemeckis.
All
yeah,
right,
Andy, you pointed that out. It's
I know
directed
it's
by Robert
Zemeckis.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh my Lord.
Yep. Anyway, we're not here to review What Lies Beneath, but good to know that takes place up near where you are. That's great. Anyway, we're going to talk about a lot of DC stuff. Before we do that, I got 2 orders of business. First order of business is to give a shout out to our pals over at Manscaped, manscaped.com. They're kind enough to sponsor the show, and y'all out there are kind enough to go shop at Manscaped. And so everybody wins. We love that. But this is Labor Day weekend, guys. And you know what that means? That means the official end of summer. At least that's how I've always seen it. So Smooth Sack Summer is over, guys. But doesn't mean you need to stop your grooming routine. If you haven't been scaping for the summer, it's not too late to sweep your sack of those pesky pubes. As summer comes to an end, we enter fall. Keep your boys clean and fresh just in time for Fresh Ball Fall. I think I like Fresh Ball Fall even better than Smooth Sack Summer, I'll be honest. It's Fresh Ball Fall, y'all. The leader in below the waist grooming is here to help make your pubes feel smoother than a beach ball and smell fresher than your girl's pumpkin spice. Don't make it about girls. It's my pumpkin spice too. Start the new season the right way. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the promo code BATSCAPED at manscaped.com. So if you're going to go to Manscaped and buy something, you get 20% off. You get free worldwide shipping. Doesn't matter where you live. Use that promo code BATSCAPED. Please do. You're going to save some money and you're going to support us in the process. And they're going to know that you heard about them from Holy BatCast. And we would love that. So yeah, celebrate Fresh Ball Fall with us. Kind of want a t-shirt that says Fresh Ball Fall. I'm going to check their website. I'm going to check Manscaped and see if they've got it. Because if they do,
they're missing out on an opportunity.
They are. Like I can just picture like 2 autumn trees, but like that are just the right shape of like 2 balls. Fresh Ball Fall. Anyway, you can go to manscaped.com, check out their performance package, check out the lawnmower trimmer, check out the body wash, the shampoo/conditioner combo, the deodorant, the lotion spray, the foot spray. Like there's a million different things. The boxers. Whatever you might need for your grooming needs, you can go to manscaped.com, do a little shopping, buy yourself something nice. But if you're going to make that purchase, please do use BatScaped. We would really appreciate that. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If nothing else, if you just need a trimmer, buy the Lawnmower 4.0. And I'm just telling you that as a friend. I would tell you off the air too, because it's the best trimmer I've ever owned. I will never go back to another trimmer after using the Lawnmower 4.0. So if you're in the market for a trimmer, either for your face or for your balls, wherever, go check out the Lawnmower 4.0, and I don't think you will regret it. But just use that promo code BATSCAPED to help support us in the process. Thanks, guys. Manscaped.com. We appreciate their support, and we appreciate your support out there. So that's the first order of business. Thank you, Manscaped. Second order of business is because it's Matt's first time on Holy BatCast.
Oh, yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
And so it's tradition, right? You got to tell us a little bit about your Batman fandom.
Okay.
And you got to tell us about your favorite Batman movie and why.
Okay. Well, I can't remember a time in my life where I didn't love Batman. I was born in 1987, so I was too young for Batman 89 at first. But my dad grew up in the era of Adam West. And so my dad is not like a Batman fan or a comic book nerd or anything, but he really likes that Batman show from Adam West. So just times watching Batman, with my dad, and we'd record it on video cassettes, and we'd watch it like that. And like, I always had more Batman toys than anything. I also grew up in the era of Batman the animated series, and I also have vague memories of seeing the I don't know what channel this even would have aired on, but the Batman cartoon where Casey Kasem was Robin. I have vague memories of watching that as a child as well. But then in my house on our video shelf, there was always this black box with just a bat symbol on it. And I was like, oh, Batman, I want to watch that. And my parents were like, no, 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 you can't watch that one. That one's not for kids. And I was like, what do you mean? It's Batman not for kids. I never got it. But eventually one day, I watched it. I can't remember what age I was or anything like that. And that black Batman box, of course, was Batman 89. And that really cemented it for me. I have seen Batman 89 more than any other movie I've seen in my life. And I probably will never watch anything quite that much again, because now there's just too many movies and TV shows, and I don't have the free time to, like I did when I was a kid, finish Batman 89, rewind the tape, and immediately start it over again. However, that is not my favorite Batman movie. My favorite Batman movie is The Dark Knight, because I just think it is a great...
He can stay.
Yep, it is a great Batman film. It's just, it represents to me everything kind of that Batman is. And it came really close to being dethroned this year. When I walked out of The Batman for the first time, I went, I may have just seen my new favorite Batman movie. But I saw it a couple more times and I went, oh, it's real close, but it's still not quite The Dark Knight.
All right. Well, there you go. I appreciate that, you shared your favorite, but you threw in a little love for some others as well.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, some runners up. That's good.
Well, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I think I should, put it out there for people who aren't. You're allowed to like more than one thing.
No, you're not. That's
false.
How dare you? I can't believe I admitted to liking more than one thing.
You pick your team, damn it.
It's a foreign concept. I get it, but you're allowed. Except when it comes to football teams. You can only have one football
team. And you can only have one baseball team as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Well, thanks, Matt. And it's good to have you here.
I said
welcome to Holy BatCast. All right. Well, let's talk about some news, guys. The first one is the best news, and so I wanted to share it first because, like I said on my recent episode with our pal Sean Gerber, is right now DC News is a lot like getting a Frogurt from the haunted item shop in Treehouse of Horror. Every bit of news is that's good, that's bad, that's good, that's bad, that's good, that's bad. It just goes on, and it's really fun right now. So I'm going to start with the best news. It's the best news for everybody who has HBOMax. Because on September 30th, guys, HBOMax is getting all 5 seasons of Gotham.
I think there's been much better news than that, but we'll see if it's in
your day has come. Your day has come. For anybody who's been waiting to dive into Gotham, now it's time. September 30th, coming to HBO Max. I obviously a little tongue in cheek. I liked Gotham fine for what it was, but it wasn't insanity, and that's okay. But for anybody who wants to sample it, it's now going to be readily available if you subscribe to HBO Max. So this does. Oh, okay.
Sorry for the delayed reaction. I was wholly unprepared, but that's kind of how I feel about that.
Oh, okay. Wow. I also have special guest Carrot Top on this episode. So anyway, I think this really helps for all the stuff they pulled off HBO Max. This really helps soothe the bad feelings. It's like we took all this other stuff off, but we're
Gotham. The company that invented Bugs Bunny, and we're not going to go ahead with any Bugs Bunny projects, but here's Gotham. Okay.
There you go. See?
I mean, Ivy Pepper is clearly a better character than Bugs Bunny, right?
She will live forever. Anyway, it is coming for anybody who's interested. But here's something else. I have this whole list of stuff coming to HBO Max in September, and most of it I have no idea what any of it is. Honestly, sounds like a lot of Discovery shit. Fixer Upper, 5-season library, like that sounds like a Discovery thing. I don't know. But there's something on here, and I don't know what it means, but I sure am going to find out. It says Looney Tunes Cartoons Halloween Special Max Original Premiere.
If it's anything like the Looney Tunes Christmas special they put out a couple years ago, that actually is something, if it's coming and it doesn't, if they title it and actually drop it, that could be a lot of fun, because the Looney Tunes Christmas special they put out a couple years ago was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'm intrigued. I don't know if this is old Looney Tunes, it's the new show that was created for HBO Max. But I just like that it sounds like it's animated Halloween content, so I'm interested in that. But wanted to let y'all know the good news about Gotham, and then this extra little Looney Tunes Halloween is a bonus for you. Other good news having to do with animation at HBO Max is that Harley Quinn, it has been renewed for season 4.
Now there's the much better news I was talking about. I'm glad that show's getting another. I love this show. It's so good.
And there's a little change in leadership. Sarah Peters, she's been a writer on the series. She's also a consulting producer. She is now going to be an executive producer and will serve as the new showrunner. So the co-creators of the show said, "We're ecstatic that HBO Max wants to continue the story of Harley and Ivy. We're equally thrilled that this next season will be in great hands with Sarah Peters as our new showrunner and Cece Aranovich overseeing animation production, as they have both greatly influenced the show with their brilliance since the beginning." So this was good news, because this is one of those things that felt like it was kind of on the bubble, especially, right now any original content on HBO Max is on the bubble, and we're in the midst of season 3 of Harley Quinn. So it was a question mark, but it's nice to hear that it's been renewed. It means that I guess people are watching season 3. And so that's great. At least we're going to get another season. Jamie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll just start by saying I was very apprehensive about that show going in, but as most of you have heard me say on this show, I am so surprised at how much I enjoy pretty much every episode. Not everyone, but pretty much every one. And frankly, I'm not sure this isn't my favorite DC thing going right now. I just watched the latest episode this morning.
It was so...
I think it was called Batman Begins Forever.
Yes.
Holy crap, what an episode.
What a love letter to the Batman character. Just what a great episode. Man.
The great humor, a love letter to Batman and his history as a character, advocating for mental health. How do you fit all of this stuff and make it work that cohesively in a 22-minute episode? Brilliant. Just brilliant. Chef's kiss. Mwah.
Well, I have not watched the new episode yet, but you are not the first people who have said that, and so I'm very much looking forward to it. We'll probably get a chance to watch it later today. But yeah, all I keep hearing is, "Oh my God, the new episode is so great." And someone who even said it might warrant its own episode of Holy BatCast. That's how good it is. So,
well, I won't say anything, but it may take more than one episode of the show to be covered.
There's a lot in there worth talking about. And since you haven't seen it, Andy, I'll shut up beyond that. But there is a lot in there worth talking about. It's fabulous.
Awesome. Can't wait. It's been a busy week, so we will get to it, but yeah, it's just we haven't yet. But now I'm looking forward to it.
This is the reason I get up at 5 or 6 o'clock every morning, is so I can actually watch this stuff without being disturbed or harassed by kids and animals.
Well, there you go. I'm still going to choose sleep. But I'm glad. Season 3 has been a lot of fun. I'm glad to hear it will continue. So this was good news. It's exciting. Matt, any thoughts?
No, I already said it. I'm glad. It is one of my favorite things going. One of the favorite DC HBO Max originals. It's that and Doom Patrol, and I'm excited. I'll take as much Harley Quinn as they can give us without the quality suffering, which so far it hasn't. So yeah, I'm good on that.
Awesome. Yep. I'm looking forward to it. It does feel like Young Justice might be over again, which makes me sad.
I didn't actually
Um,
see this most recent season, but I didn't hear fantastic things. So
It
yeah,
started out of the gates really slow, but by the end, it was right back to form again.
yeah, yeah. The first half of the season was really rough, and y'all know I've been the biggest advocate for Young Justice for years now. And the first half of the season, I'm like, oh God, like this is just not working for me. And then it started coming together, and then by the end, it was great again. But that
You
is
could
one
tell
that.
this year that they were kind of kneecapped by budget restrictions. You could definitely see that for the whole season.
So I still would love to see another season. I do love that show, but there has been no news, and they've been very clear that it has not been renewed. So that is, potential bad news. It'll be a bummer to lose that show, but I was happy that we got additional seasons of it anyway. So I guess I should look at the it's half full, as I got a few extra seasons of it thanks to DC Universe and then eventually HBO Max. Because when it got canceled after 2 on Cartoon Network, that was a real tragedy, and I'm glad that at least we've gotten more Young Justice. I just wish they'd at least get one more season. I don't know. I always feel like if it's going to be your last season, it always helps to know it's going to be your last season.
yes.
So that way you can plan accordingly.
And after that major tease at the end of this season, I hope at the very least they let them get like a 2-hour movie to button things up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know even that's probably not sufficient, but damn, just don't leave that door open and never let anybody step through it,
Yeah. Well, and I'll also say that like every season finale of Young Justice has wrapped up most things, because it seems like they never knew if they were coming back. So every season finale would have a lot of closure, so it could serve as an ending, but then would always leave one last tease for what could happen next. And it seems like this one did the same. So if it is the end, it's okay, but you're right. They did leave a pretty big tease that we would like to see followed up on.
Certainly.
But speaking about more animation at HBO Max, Batman Cape Crusader. We talked about this recently. We all know that it is no longer coming out on HBO Max because they think they can make more money by selling it to someone else. And just an additional little snippet, and this came out from the Hollywood Reporter, is that it's already receiving interest from Apple, Hulu, and Netflix, among others. So I found this to be the least surprising news, because who would be interested in a new Batman animated series? Everyone, except the company that owns it.
It's such a bizarre thing too. Like I think it I think Sean said this on your episode that you did with him, but like the interest in short-term gains over long-term vision, it's like you own this character, like you own this property. Like why are you not? And then also the situation with HBO Max in general is up in the air, because we had heard they were going to merge HBO Max and Discovery Plus, but then we never heard anything more about it, and that HBO Max might go away. And now they've got Harley Quinn renewed for another season on HBO Max, and Peacemaker is getting another season on HBO Max. So their branding and their message is about as clear as mud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there will be some sort of combination that comes later. And I think they even said that as, sometime next year. So they're still, I think, working out what that's going to look like. But you're right. The messaging is all over the place, because it's like, this stuff's being removed. This stuff's being canceled. This stuff's being sold. Oh, but we just renewed Harley Quinn for season 4, and new subscribers get 40% off. It's all over the place. It's, as you said, clear as mud, and it is very bizarre. So it's just you just kind of have to wait and see.
I just hope Apple doesn't get the Cape Crusader. I don't need another friggin' subscription service, and I don't have Apple TV.
First of all, sir, you should have an Apple Plus subscription just for Ted Lasso.
That's literally the only reason I have an Apple Plus subscription.
Also, the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
I own that, so.
Because I don't own 5 versions of that already.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't have the streaming service for it too.
Okay.
You call yourself a fan? You disgust me.
I do. I have the pumpkin shaped vinyl record of the soundtrack. Thank you very
I'm
much.
about to buy this year like my 4th or 5th version of a Muppet Christmas Carol when it comes out on 4K for the first time. So I can only get suckered into so many versions of different movies.
No, not me. I just keep going because I'm an idiot and I'm the reason it happens.
We all have those movies. We all have them. No matter how many times they come out with it, you buy it again. I just bought the really nice Shout Factory versions of Halloween. What was it? 6,
I've got to
7,
get
and 8.
those too.
Okay.
Those are other ones I've been suckered into more than once.
Yep. But anyway, to go back to it, like I hope it ends up at Netflix. That's what I feel like, just because I use Netflix a lot. It would be much more convenient for me because, like I said, I rarely use Apple. I use Hulu well enough. The odd thing is that Hulu is co-owned by Disney and Comcast. So it is crazy to think that the Batman show could end up on a Disney/Universal streaming service like Hulu. But for me,
The
I feel like
Incredible
Netflix
Hulk is on HBOMax last time I checked. I'm just saying.
okay. But anyway, like it's receiving interest. Yeah, no shit. Of course it is. It's just bizarre that the only streaming service that doesn't want it is the one that owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you guys discussed it on the episode, which of course I wasn't on, but I was giving my hell yeah preach impressions driving down the street when you guys were discussing it. It's gotta be the most short-sighted thing in the world. If these, I don't know what these things are valued at, so my numbers are completely out of the air and arbitrary and don't mean anything. But I have no idea. But just for the sake of having a number to throw out, let's say Netflix offers HBO Max $20 million for this show. If they're offering them $20 million for this show, they must think they're going to make money over and above the $20 million for that investment. They don't just throw money out to do it. They think there's value there that's going to drive subscriptions, maintain subscriptions, and what have you. And here we are with what I feel is currently not only the best streaming service going, because my watch list on Max is bigger than all my other ones combined because of their back catalogs and their IPs and everything else. How do they not want this here? What in the hell are they thinking? I do not understand. I get the short-sightedness of wanting the cash up front immediately because they're strapped or whatnot, but I also have to wonder what they're thinking in that there isn't enough value to keep it there. Am I the only one that just can't get my head around how little sense that makes?
The second most profitable superhero in the world based on merchandise service, sale, ticket, box office, merchandise, everything behind Spider-Man. Like he's the second biggest grossing superhero in the world, and they are like, nah, let's kick this off our service and sell it to somebody else. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
I'll play devil's advocate just so we don't get emails. We'll still get emails. I am sure they did some sort of research that said this show is not going to move the needle as far as subscribers on HBO Max. So putting on HBO Max, yes, there's value because it's new content for the subscribers, but people aren't going to all of a sudden subscribe to HBO Max for a Batman animated series. And people aren't going to bail because it doesn't have it.
How many people got a Disney Plus subscription for She-Hulk?
We don't.
Listen, let me finish. I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying is they listen, it's very clear Zaslav is making his decisions by spreadsheet. The spreadsheet value of a show on a service is questionable at best, where I'm sure they estimated Netflix is going to give us, I don't know, $20 million. Again, who knows? But that is a countable revenue stream as opposed to a very vague, it'll keep the subscribers we have at HBO Max. And I'm sure that's why the decision is made. I don't agree with it. I think it's stupid as hell because, yes, HBO Max is your home for DC content, and you literally have a DC hub on it, and you want the new content coming to HBO Max, but I am sure that's why the decision was made.
And I think we're seeing now what we always kind of speculated would be coming, but I think we are starting to see the beginnings of peak streaming services. Like, I think we are seeing, because we can't tell, and from what I can tell on the business end, which isn't much, I'm a dummy on that end, but it seems like it's hard to tell what actually gives them money, because we've been seeing a lot of especially out of like Netflix, like they are having trouble new subscribe, because eventually everybody is going to have as many streaming services as they are going to have no matter what. And
I already do.
right, and there's been articles about Netflix having trouble retaining or gaining. Like, you can't gain subscribers ad infinitum. You're gonna top out somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if, like, maybe Zaslav is looking at HBO Max and going, we aren't going to get more subscribers, and we maybe this has peaked, and maybe this isn't a viable long-term revenue stream versus licensing. And that doesn't mean I don't think it's a bad idea, because I still think it's a weird idea for at least Batman. Maybe for some other properties you own it would be good, but for Batman it's weird. But I'm just wondering if, like, as a company that needs to make money, he is looking at it and going, we have topped out on making money on this product. And hence his move away from wanting to make streaming movies, for example, and go back to the theater.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I do think that's it. Is we've reached sort of a saturation point with streaming, but I do feel like he seems like he's intentionally kneecapping HBO Max, so that way he has justification to either shut it down or combine it with Discovery and call the whole thing Discovery Plus.
Right.
I'll tell you what, since my subscription just renewed 3 days ago for annual, because, I chickened out and didn't boycott it because of this whole Batgirl thing, because my watch list on HBO Max is obscene and I would like to watch these movies at some point. I'm not going to be happy at all with Warner Brothers. Not that I've been real happy with them lately anyway, if they cancel this service and I don't get at least a partial refund for that. And I know I'm screwed anyway, but,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff bothers me. I'm still mad at Wizard Magazine because I just sent in my annual subscription for Wizard Magazine and 2 months later got canceled. I feel like they owe me $35, but I never saw any of that.
Try to get it. Yeah, you should write them. See how that goes. Anyway, listen, I didn't mean to go down this whole HBO Max thing, but the point is that the Cape Crusader, of course, already has interest in every other streaming service, just not HBO Max. So we will see it. My vote is for Netflix, but again, in a lot of ways, does it really matter? I do think Apple needs it the most, because I think that, yeah, Apple is probably lacking the most buzzy shows, with the exception of Ted Lasso. But
I wouldn't go so far as to say that. They've got a lot of acclaimed shows and movies on there. They just don't have the content outside of their original stuff to supplement something like what Disney Plus or HBO Max or at this point even Peacock and Paramount Plus have. They don't have the back catalog of stuff on there.
Well, they don't, but I mean, at the same time, like, I guess they do have shows that are critically acclaimed, but to Matt's point, there's nothing on there where to me it feels like, oh, this is a must see. I'm missing out if I don't watch this, with the exception of Ted Lasso.
They're also the ones that are going to make the Godzilla TV show. So eventually I'm going to have Apple Plus for at least a little while, because I am curious about that Godzilla show. God damn it.
Well, here's the good news. Of all of the streaming services, they're kind of toward the bottom end for the subscription fee.
Oh, that's good.
Like I have mine packaged because I have Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple Arcade, and something else all combined for $20 a month. I think just by itself, it's $10 or less a month for just the TV.
Because I also have the other two you mentioned. I have Paramount Plus because I love Star Trek, and I have Peacock because I signed up for it to watch Halloween Kills because I was out of town when that came out, and I never canceled it. And there's some interesting stuff on there. They have a lot of the Universal monster movies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've got
yeah.
a decent catalog on there. It's not amazing, but it's pretty solid. Paramount Plus, to me, for my money, Paramount Plus is the weakest of the services that I have.
Mm. Probably because you don't like Star Trek.
But I'm not a
Right.
Star Trek guy, so maybe that's why I'm
Yeah.
missing out there. So
We have Paramount Plus for RuPaul's Drag Race, so everything else is a bonus. All right. Well, speaking of more news around HBO Max, I didn't even know if I wanted to cover this, if I'm being honest, but I am kind of begrudgingly covering it because uh, it is news, but it's just one of those take with a grain of salt news. So recently, Fandango's Eric Davis and the Rap's Humberto Gonzalez held a Twitter Spaces and talked about Batgirl. And they shared some details about Batgirl from someone who allegedly saw one of the funeral screenings. And so I thought I would share what was discussed just because it's still news out there. So the first thing was talking about Keaton. It said, I was told he was good. He is playing Bruce Wayne Batman as age appropriate. He's got white hair when he's Bruce Wayne. The kicker is that his Batman is retired. He obviously pops in and helps and advises Barbara Gordon, but he's not really in it that much. He has a presence when he's in it, and it's sort of a pivotal cameo when he pops in and out. They also said about just the overall movie. I saw Batgirl. It's certainly not the worst superhero movie, but ultimately, I understand why they took the write down. I asked this. He asked for more elaboration, and he says it plays like a very expensive CW pilot. It's not really a strong film. The tone is very CW, lacking in depth, lighter, and more comic booky, which is odd because Michael Keaton's in it. It's finally lighter than his Burton films. Currently, it's about an hour and 40 minutes. It's basically an hour and 40-minute pilot with a pretty good action set piece at the end. And again, it's not the worst film I've seen. But it did say it was obviously shot for television. So it's like everything is in the center of the screen. And I'm being told it just doesn't feel cinematic, which is something they probably could have corrected if they did additional photography. But ultimately, the powers that be decided it wasn't worth the tens of $1,000,000 it would have cost to do it. So there you go. A little bit of detail on Michael Keaton's role in it, about just the overall film itself. Jamie, what are your thoughts on these comments?
anger, sadness, just that's pretty much summing up my whole feelings on this since the announcement happened several weeks ago. I really wanted to see that movie. And if it's bad, please let me figure that out for myself. Don't make me go the rest of my life wondering what could have been with it. I just all I can hope for now is that either somebody leaves that flash drive in an airport bathroom or that Jerry Seinfeld was sitting in the back of that theater with a camcorder shooting it like he did with Death Blow. Please, anybody, if you're out there at a con somewhere, please keep an eye out for the bootlegs because I'll be happy to give somebody money reimbursement for that because I really want to see the movie.
And none of these comments make you go, okay, well, maybe I'm not missing anything?
No, they don't. Because I don't base my opinions on other people's opinions. I base my opinions on my own opinions. And having seen a product in its whatever finished form it may have been in at the time, you know, I sat down and watched the work print of the X-Men Origins Wolverine.
As did I.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it got laughable at a point, but I enjoyed that up to a certain point too. So, and guess what? I still bought the movie after it came out on an actual release. It didn't stop me from it, even though I don't think that's anywhere near the best superhero movie ever made or anything. So I don't know. I went and saw Morbius just on a protest. So I'm just that kind of person. I don't care what other people think about a movie. Let me figure it out on my own.
From a business aspect,
All right.
I get it. Like I still arrive back at I think he's focusing to, and I don't know what it's like to inherit the responsibility of a $3 billion deficit for a company. I don't know. I have no idea. I'll never know. But I can imagine that it's daunting, right? And a lot is riding on it for you personally. But from my own aspect, from outside looking in, like it just seems like they could have done something else with this film. I get not wanting to spend more money on it. And I get not wanting to do streaming a little bit, but like the project was done. Like at that point, who cares? Don't make any more after it. I don't know. It's a weird situation, and it's just sad for everyone involved.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying about, inheriting a deficit and they're cash strapped and all this other stuff, but here's an interesting concept. I don't know if anybody stopped to consider on any side of the fence. You have to spend money to make it.
Yeah.
Well, I saw something, and I don't have it pulled up because I couldn't find it again, but it was something just about their earnings being so down this month, and a lot of it because of the horrible bad press that they've been getting with all these decisions. Their stock has just plummeted. So it's like, yes, by making these cuts to save money, they're continuing to lose money.
To me, it feels short-sighted, but I'm obviously not the world's greatest businessman and financial expert, and certainly don't have a great understanding of the inner workings of movie studios and television production and all of that various media there. It just, I don't know. None of it makes any sense to me. And judging by the almost unanimous negative backlash it's gotten, because somebody out there understands this business aspect, there has to be something we're all missing somewhere, or Zaslav is really just a moron.
Well, within the industry, the reputation is very, very bad right now. Like, this is a very bad press for WB Discovery because nobody wants to work with them right now. And that's a huge problem. And that's a problem that they're now going to have to overcome over the next few years, because doing all of this.
How do you overcome that? You're going to have to wind up overpaying for talent to come in now.
Yeah. Sorry. So, I mean, and it doesn't get as much press because it's not DC, but some of these animated series that were removed from the series, like those creators, they've publicly come out and made statements just about how disrespected they feel by everything that's going on and everything. And so every time something like this happens, again, right now it's all tarnishing the reputation of Warner Brothers Discovery, and that's going to take years to recover.
They took off like the entire back catalog of Sesame Street. Like, it's Sesame Street. What do you... it's weird. Everything they're doing is just weird.
Anyway, I did want to talk specifically about these comments. I wasn't trying to dig up old wounds, but... So, the comments about Keaton and his role in the movie honestly makes a lot of sense. Like, that's really all I was expecting from him, knowing that he was going to be in there and he was going to be more of a mentor for Batgirl. We saw set pictures of him with the white hair. I think those were from The Flash, but I assumed it would be consistent here in Batgirl. But he has a presence. He's retired. It's a pivotal cameo when he pops in and out. So yeah, I always considered it was going to be more of a smaller supporting role. That does seem like what it was, but I was told he was good. Of course he was. He's Michael Keaton. He doesn't know how to be bad.
Yeah, and I never thought a 70-year-old Batman was going to be out there really mixing it up hardcore, still fighting crime. That never made sense to me. So all these comments...
Exactly. I was not expecting a team-up film. I was expecting pretty much exactly what the description says there.
Of course. And then I will say I am getting very tired of comparing something to the CW as a way to insult it. Because I've seen a lot of CW stuff that I think is pretty damn good. And it just feels like a kind of a cheap shot of it plays like a CW's pilot. So I'm like, well, you know what? The pilot for The Flash
season of The Flash
is a damn good superhero movie. Yeah, it's a damn good superhero movie. It was on the CW. Sorry.
Lois also would like a word here.
Yeah, Superman, right? Stargirl is great. Like, come on. Like lumping everything into, it looks like the CW, just to me feels like a very lazy argument. But I think the description of the movie, again, and this is something I totally take with a shaker of salt, because it is literally one person's response, and we don't even know if they've actually seen the movie, right? This is an unnamed person who talked to one of these guys. So it's like we've got some degrees of separation. You kind of have to assume that he did see it or he or she saw it, but we don't know that, and it's one person's response. But
it's so vague in that description.
Anyone could have said
literally common sense deduction that you could have come up with these items anyway. The three of us could have sat down for 5 minutes and figured out to do exactly that as saying we were there at that screening and this is what happened. It's so vague. It means very little, if anything, to me at all. Honestly.
Yeah, yeah. But like lighter and more comic book like, they say that like it's a bad thing, and I'm like, no, that sounds like a good thing to me.
Well, I mean, from that perspective, Batgirl is not Batman. She tends to be a lighter character. So also deductive makes sense.
Yeah, and then very expensive CW pilot also sounds kind of good to me, because I've liked a lot of CW pilots, and as I watch them, I'm like, yeah, if they spent 3 times as much money on this, it would be amazing. So I don't take that as a negative, really.
Wouldn't even be mad at it.
So and again, there's just sort of the faint praise. It's not the worst superhero movie I've ever seen. Like, well, so to me, it doesn't sound like it was bad. It just sounds like it was very TV, you know. But it sounds good enough that I still really wish I could see it.
Right.
So that's kind of where I stand on this. You're right. Like, it's very vague comments. It's comments that anyone could just sort of say, because there's not a lot of detail to prove one way or the other. But also, if we assume that this person did see it, this doesn't sound like horrible news. It doesn't sound like it was some game changer. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't theatrical, but it still sounds like there was enough good about it that it was worth watching.
Well, I'm sure there's a certain demographic. I can't talk today. Certain demographic of people out there that are going to take this as gospel and say, see, this is why they did it for 90 million, because it wasn't a good movie.
Yeah, they've already done that. There's already people doing that.
Yeah, you don't know that because you haven't seen it, but thanks for your opinion anyway.
Yeah. So, anyway, I thought it was worth mentioning because it was just giving a little more detail on what the movie was like, and, you know, worth discussing anyway. The only DC movie that's moving forward right now is Joker Folie à Deux.
Literally, I hate that title because I can't spell or pronounce it.
Literally the only DC movie moving forward. But we have a little more casting. Brendan Gleeson has joined the cast in an unconfirmed role, or an unnamed role, let's say. You know Brendan Gleeson, even if you don't know his name. I'm trying to think of what I know him from. I've seen him in 100 things, and I can't. I literally
mentioned Braveheart, Mr. Mercedes.
Yep, I was going to say Mr. Mercedes. Yep,
which is a great show, by the way.
Was he in Bruges? Was that him?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, just like a super well respected, longtime actor.
Great actor.
Yeah. But I guess I'll just throw out the obvious, and it's what I saw immediately. I'm not holding my breath, but I'd be into it. Is maybe he is this universe's Oswald Cobblepot.
Maybe.
And so maybe. I mean,
they're not bound by any restrictions, but that seems, if it is the case, an odd choice to me because he's a big guy. And I don't mean like, just round. I mean, he's north of 6 feet tall.
Oh, okay. And it's one of those things where, as fans, whenever there is new casting in a superhero movie, we immediately assume, oh, they're playing some famous comic book character. And we can't help it because we don't know what random supporting characters are going to be in this movie, especially if they're original characters. So it's very natural.
The guy that they said was going to be the Flash for Batman v.
Oh, yeah. Because his legs were cut off.
Scoot McNairy.
Scoot.
You would think I would remember
Scoot.
that.
And Jenna Malone was Batgirl.
Jenna Malone was Batgirl. That's right. Yeah.
So and that's why I say, like, we can't assume he could just be a doctor in Arkham Asylum. He could be a cop. He could be anything. But because he is literally the third cast member who has been, confirmed in the movie, I understand the natural inclination to go, oh, he could be the Penguin. And personally, I'd be all for that. I think that could be really cool because, hey, if you got this random side universe with Joker anyway, why not bring in other characters? Why not bring in a Penguin? Why not bring in someone else? So I'd be for it, but I'm also not holding my breath because, again, there's just as good a chance that he's Bullock or some brand new cop or something. Who knows? You never know.
He'd be really good.
Physical stature wise, Bullock makes the most sense.
Yeah, he'd be good at that.
Honestly, I'm kind of hoping for Gordon with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy's a great actor. I don't mean this to demean his talent or anything, because I'm a fan, but I've never seen the cat play a role where he wasn't speaking in his natural accent.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know how much range or even willingness he has to try and do something different. I mean, if you're, stay in your comfort zone and be the best you can at what you are. But like, I suppose a James Gordon that speaks with an Irish, Scottish, whatever he is, accent. I mean, that I could live with that.
I could too. I mean, I think the bottom line is he's a great actor, and so it'll be very interesting to see him in this film, whatever he plays. But it shows that they're continuing to add very good talent to this film.
I've seen a lot of people kind of shrug about this, and I know everybody's kind of down on the DC news right now, understandably so. But honestly, I'm pretty excited for this movie.
I am too. Yeah, I'm looking for. I mean, Joker is a movie that when I walked out of it, I was like, well, I don't need another one of those. And then they went ahead and went, well, what if we put in Lady Gaga and make it a weird musical? And I went, okay, now I need another one of those.
Right. It's so bizarre that it has to be great, right? At least I'm hoping. And I think she's a tremendous actress. I mean, she's obviously a great vocal talent, but I think she's as good or better of an actress as she is a singer.
Yeah, I mean, same. The Joker wasn't really for me, but everything about the sequel certainly has me intrigued, and I'm willing to give it a shot. And Gaga is a big part of that. I just think she's amazing. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all develops. All right. Well, another movie that is interesting to watch develop is The Flash. It's always something. It's always fun. Smooth sailing for The Flash. But
I should have got something stronger than iced tea this morning.
But of course, there's all the controversy around Ezra Miller, and I think it was 2 weeks ago, Ezra Miller did issue an apology and a statement about seeking treatment for severe mental health issues. And then about a week after that, it appears that Ezra and their agent did go to WB, and they met with the heads of WB Pictures, and to essentially discuss the future of The Flash and moving forward. So it apparently went well. So according to sources, Miller vowed to seek help after learning that they were considering all options for The Flash, including scrapping the film. While the actor is said to have not minded the stream of bad headlines, they were spooked by the notion about the film getting canceled, and they jolted to action. Says one source, they care about the Flash. It's one of their favorite characters to play. And so apparently Ezra was apologetic, affirmed their commitment to getting help and to the production. And so it does seem like it's moving forward. Another little tidbit. This article came from the Hollywood Reporter, so it is legit. And it was an exclusive to them. But another little tidbit in here that was interesting is that the movie is still moving forward in post-production. Composer Benjamin Wallfish, who did the Shazam score, was leading the scoring session in London, which would have been this week. Visual effects work continues. They could be done by the end of the year. And apparently in test screenings, it's receiving some of the highest scores since the Dark Knight movies. So a lot in there. Ezra is trying to get help, has apologized publicly and privately to WB, is committed to the film. And at the same time, the film is moving forward. And according to test screenings, it is scoring very well. Cool. So, Jamie.
So, I guess I'll just get this out of the way first, because I don't want to dwell on it all day. I've seen a lot of cynical backlash over this from people who are like, oh, the publicist wrote the apology and blah, 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 blah. Here's my take on this. And y'all can agree, disagree, whatever you want to do. I don't care. I don't care why he's getting the help. I care that he's getting the help without having to reach some tragic moment of no return and something he can't come back from, like seriously hurting or, God forbid, killing somebody. and that being the reason he gets the help. If somebody scared him into getting the help, if it was some kind of a ruse and they're going to oversee the fact that he actually is seeing some sort of a therapist or something, okay, I'm fine with that. My thing right along has been that he needs the help. And if this is what is the motivation behind him finally getting there, great. The people that dogpile on top of this it aggravates me. It keeps me away from social media. So if y'all don't see me floating around on Twitter or something, it's probably because I'm tired of reading crap like that. But the test screening thing, that's certainly encouraging. I don't know how much stock I put in that, other than great. Let me see it for myself, and I'll figure it out for myself. But at this point, I have no idea if I'm ever going to see this movie, let alone when. I hope it works out. At this point, I'm going to remain optimistic, and I'm going to say I hope he gets the help. I hope he legitimately takes to being helped and betters himself as a human being in society. And I hope that he continues to play the role with that kind of passion and enthusiasm, because you can see he likes it. He's shown up in several cameos as the character, so clearly he must enjoy doing it to some degree, right?
Yeah, I brought that up as I'm like, this is the guy who showed up on the CW, on the Flash TV show. This was the one who said yes to popping up at the end of Peacemaker. Like, so obviously they have a lot of passion for the character of the Flash. They're happy to show up every time they get asked, and like, there's something to be said for that.
And if I'm screwing up pronouns again, I'm sorry. I'm not very focused on that at the moment. I'm focused on the situation over that.
No,
show.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's
again,
okay.
forgive
we
me
all get
if I'm slipping on that. Ezra is a very, very talented actor. I'm a fan of Ezra's as an actor. I think their work is great in everything I've seen them in. So I'd love for this to continue going forward. What I don't need is the drama, the bad news, the headlines. I'm so over it. I'm so over it. And I wish Ezra the best, and I truly hope it works out. But for my own mental well-being, I can't deal with any more of the off-camera stuff. I'm beyond it right now.
Yeah.
That's me being on the same page as well. Like, they haven't done, Jamie, to your point, they haven't done anything completely irredeemable. It's been weird, and some people have gotten minorly injured, like, with a chair throwing and a strangling of dubious. I read at one point that the fan had asked for it or something. I don't know what that all. It's all just. It's very.
I'll just say the choking thing, which hasn't been addressed, and if that fan comes out and says, "Oh no, like it was out of control," it was a 7-second video where they were both smiling. So that's why I was like, it seemed to me like they were joking around.
Yeah, so it's just all, they've done a lot of weird stuff, and it seems like they at this point realize they've done a lot of bizarre stuff and need to get some therapy, and like mental health is more important than a film. We're talking about another human being here, so that's great for them. And it seems like WB and David Zaslav and even Ezra themselves are really committed to this film. So I think this is, as long as it's smooth sailing from here on out, to me, this is nothing but good news.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, I think, the turn that we've all been waiting for, or at least for those of for those of us who've been rooting for the best, this is the turn we've been waiting for. For the people who have gloriously and happily danced every time something bad has happened, you probably are very upset about this. But for the people who've been actually like hoping for the best for Ezra and for the film, this is the turn I think that we all were hoping would come. And I'm glad it is. I'm glad that Ezra's getting help. I'm glad that Ezra is not, incommunicado in Hawaii doing God knows what. It seems like everybody now knows how to reach them. They're taking steps they need for their own mental health. They are taking responsibility for their actions, and they're meeting with the right people and saying and essentially addressing what they have done and trying to make it better. Will it be enough? I don't know. That is my concern, is like the bad press is the bad press. And they can certainly do as much as they can to try and make up for it and to turn things around. But there are certain people who've already made up their mind and they're not going to change it. I've seen that too, of people, being like, anybody who goes to see the Flash is, like, is enabling this abusive behavior. I like that kind of stuff. And
anybody who says that, I'm just going to interject right there and say, you better not have any Quentin Tarantino movies on your shelf, because almost all of those were produced by the Weinsteins. You better not have any Roman Polanski movies on your shelf. You better not have any movies from that guy that did Powder and Jeepers Creepers on your shelf. I mean, you get where I'm going. Mel Gibson. I mean, I can go on with this all day.
I know.
I can go on with it all day.
Yeah. Anyway, my point is like, there's certain people you're just not going to change their mind. There are a lot of people who are still, I think, hoping for the best, and there might be some people in the middle, but I've always been hoping for the best. I think Ezra is a great actor. I really liked their version of the Flash. I love that they love the Flash. I wanted them to get help for themselves and for everyone around them. It seems like that is happening. So all of this is, I think, good news. And the reports about the quality of the Flash, it sounds like it's a good movie. That's exciting to hear. I want the best for Andy Muschietti. I want the best for Sasha Calle. I want the best for everyone else involved in that film too. And so these are all positive steps. Again, I don't think it'll be enough to change everyone's mind, because like you said, Jamie, there are a lot of cynical people who are like, oh, sure, like, and again, those are people who want to root against this. They've been doing it since day one. So we shall see how it goes, but I just hope that Ezra is in a healthier place, and then the movie will be the movie.
I agree. And I'll just want to say this much. I've had kind of a contentious relationship with this film for a while, as everybody knows. And some of what I say is kind of a wink and a nudge thing. Some of it I say is dead serious or a hyperbolic reaction to some brand new headline that I've just read. But nobody, and I mean nobody, wants this movie to happen and be great more than I do. I'm just tired of the drama that's involved in every other aspect of the film. I just want to see it and move on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I agree. And it's not just the drama with Ezra, but I'm sick of the fan discourse.
All the way back to the beginning. All the way back.
No, I mean, I'm just sick of the fan fighting about it too. I mean, I'm sick of the fan fighting about everything, but especially with this, because again, it's like this very performative thing of like high horses and cynicism, and if anybody's excited about this, you're not a real fan, and like just all this bullshit. You know what I'm talking about? Like I'm tired of all of it. I don't want to be involved. I'm just hoping for the best for everyone.
Yep.
So we'll see. Another movie that is on the horizon, hopefully, is Blue Beetle. Xolo Maridueña, who is, of course, on Cobra Kai, he just did an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. So he talks a lot about Cobra Kai Season 5, because that comes out in like a week. I think it comes out this week, which I'm very excited about. But he also talked about Blue Beetle. And it turns out that he did not audition for Blue Beetle. He actually was called by Walter Hamada. They had a Zoom call, and then Walter invited him to lunch. And when he got to lunch, there was the director of Blue Beetle, and they just wanted to offer him the role. They had decided, just, he's our guy. And so here's what Hamada said. He said, look, Xolo, the role of Blue Beetle is going to be really important to this universe. We want to make sure that whoever we go with is a real person, and we're not just hiring a face. It's about more than what's in front of the camera. And so it's a lot of pressure, but he said, I felt my throat close up. My eyes started to water. It was overwhelming. And then he did talk a little bit about what this means and moving forward. So here we go. It says, In the beginning, there was a bit of an imposter syndrome, like, oh my gosh, how did they know? I haven't even read a word of the script. How can they be so sure? Everyone was so welcoming and instilled so much confidence in me through the filming of the movie. Just comes back to the thing that I was saying earlier. Blue Beetle isn't to make me the next heartthrob or biggest star. It's just to show people, hey, these stories about Latinos don't have to just be about narcos or crossing the border or being a gang member. You can be portrayed in a positive light. A superhero seems like the most positive light you can get in this industry. They also asked him about Batgirl. He said, it obviously feels very close, right? Warner Brothers and Beetle. But I think everything that has to be said on the topic has been spoken from those involved. I think that the creators and Leslie have said everything that need to be said. And then they asked him what is going to make Blue Beetle unique. He said, I always get so nervous talking about the movie. Let me preface this by saying that everything that I'm saying was in the comics, okay? I don't want to hear anybody say Sholo was giving away spoilers from the movie. Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle, has been passed the torch from other Blue Beetles. There are other iterations of the character. My iteration is a kid from Texas who stumbles upon these powers. The thing that makes this movie different from other superhero movies I've seen, well, there are a ton that I haven't seen. There were superhero movies before Iron Man, right? Anyway, it says, with this character, he lives with his family. There's no way to hide who he is. Right from the very moment he gets his powers, his family knows, and that's different. Anything else about? Then they go back to Cobra Kai. Oh, they asked him about trying on the suit for the first time. He said, every time I get in the suit, I get so giddy. The thing is sick. It's awesome, and being in it is even cooler. I'm really excited for everyone to see what the suit can do in the movie. All right, so there you go. Little tidbits about Blue Beetle from Sholo. It does say that's how you say it, which is good because I was never quite sure on how to say it. But Sholo Dueña. Oh man, I'm sorry. And so thoughts on this, Jamie?
Which character is he on Cobra Kai? Miguel?
He is. He's Miguel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kid's a good actor. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me how he got the job. The kid's got talent. He fits the demographic of age and race and all that other stuff. I mean, I don't have any issue there. I'm not the biggest Blue Beetle fan. I've read a few of the comics here and there, especially in the Rebirth era. I was on that wagon for a while, and pretty good stuff. So, I mean, I'm interested to see what comes up. My excitement level is not through the roof like it would have been for, a Bat Family movie like Batgirl, Batman, any of that other stuff. But there appears to be a lot less drama with this than, say, something like The Flash. So I'm intrigued by it. I really want to make sure that it sees its way to the light, if that makes any sense. I guess where I'm at, I don't want to raise my hopes on this thing and then have another rug pulled out from underneath me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm certainly intrigued, and I certainly welcome it, and I think it would be fun to watch.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for him. Like, that's an actor's dream, right? To have somebody offer you a huge role without even auditioning. Like, that's really awesome, and it's great that the studio had confidence in him. And I imagine that even though he said he had anxiety at first, obviously eventually it had to give him a lot of confidence in the role, knowing, no, I am the guy they wanted for this. I haven't ever watched Cobra Kai, so I can't speak to his acting prowess, but
It's so good.
everybody says that, and it's one of the ones I haven't gotten around to.
Shut up, Jamie. It's so good.
So and like Jamie said, I'm not a huge Blue Beetle fan. Like, as far as my DC fandom goes, it's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and the Flash, and beyond that, everybody else is just kind of not important to me. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to see this movie. I'm certainly super interested in a Blue Beetle movie based on what I know of Blue Beetle from a couple crossover books and seeing him in cartoons. So yeah, bring it on.
Honestly, Batman the Brave and the Bold, like, if you watch those Blue Beetle episodes, that's a great way to learn about the Jaime Reyes version of the character.
Because I learned about Jaime from
It's like,
Young Justice, pretty much.
Okay, well that works too. But yeah, I feel like he showed up on Brave and the Bold a lot, and it's actually a good way to do it. Um, I'm really looking forward to this movie. I really love him. Miguel is great on Cobra Kai. He is an amazing character. He's a great actor. When this was announced, it was one of those like, duh, no crap, that's perfect. Why didn't I think of that? I'm shocked that because of Cobra Kai, he should have been fan casted by everyone because it's so perfect. So I'm glad that that's what happened. It sounds like that's what Walter Hamada thought was, oh, there you go. There's our Jaime Reyes. And so, again, like good for him, like to show up to a lunch and then being like, yeah, we want you to be our Blue Beetle. This is really important to us. It's really important to the universe. We want to make sure we have the right person in this role. That's amazing for him. And I think that rightfully so. I think he's saying all the right things. Obviously, I think he's really excited. There's a lot of pressure. Of course there is. But I think that he has the talent to pull it off. And I think he was very smart about responding to the Batgirl question of like, yeah, that feels close to home, but I think those people have said what needs to be said. I think that was smart to kind of sidestep it because it is very scary. But sharing some info about this version of Blue Beetle, and it does feel like it's very accurate to the comics, to Jaime Reyes's journey and his story. All that's really good. We have seen the suit, we've seen concept art, we've seen set photos. The suit is spot on, and glad that he likes wearing it. But all this is great to hear. It's great to hear him discussing this film. I'm really looking forward to this film. Like you guys, is Blue Beetle in my top 10 superheroes of all time? Of course not. No, he's not. But I like him. And I think we have a great actor to play the role. I love bringing this character to life in live action. And yeah, I loved his comment about what it means for Latino stories of it is a Latino superhero and it's not about drug dealers or gang members. It's telling a positive story starring Latinos. And I think that's wonderful. So it's all good stuff and it's all very encouraging. And I think that he's going to be great. It's just one of those things, kind of like you alluded to, Jamie, is I hope we get to see it. Obviously he's allowed to talk about it, which is a good sign. But at the same time, the Batgirl folks didn't know they were canceled until we all found out. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I'm not super confident in what is happening. And this is one that feels like it could easily fall off the slate, which I hope is not the case. But yeah, I have a little bit of worry about that. And I hope that's not what happens. I hope that the changes they made when they decided this was going to be a theatrical film meant that they did beef up the scope and they did make it more cinematic. And so that way it is something that will fit more seamlessly into Zaslav's vision for DC in the future, because I really want to see this movie. I really like him as an actor, and I think he's going to be a great Blue Beetle. And so I just hope that this survives Zaslav's axe.
Yeah, agreed.
But it didn't survive Zaslav's axe? DC FanDome. And it's not that surprising. I will start by saying that. But they did release a statement saying, with the return of in-person events, Warner Brothers Discovery is excited to be able to engage with our fans live at numerous Comic-Cons around the world and will not be scheduling DC FanDome for 2022. So when we talked about Comic-Con in July, and we talked about what was shown there, we were very kind of casual about oh, but they got to save stuff for FanDome. They got to save stuff for FanDome. And after that episode, we got some messages being like, oh, did they announce it? Did we miss it? You guys kept talking about FanDome. And we were just operating under this assumption of, oh, well, of course it's coming back. But this was, of course, before all of the Zaslav cuts, right? This was before any of that happened. So in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, we've had it the past 2 years. Why wouldn't we do it again? And so this is where I will admit I was wrong. Which I know takes a lot of the fun out of people's lives because they love being able to tell me when I'm wrong. And if I just admit it, I'm sorry, you don't get to say I told you so. But I just assumed it would come back because why wouldn't it? And then as soon as we started seeing Zaslav cut, I was like, oh, okay, never mind. It's not coming back. So this being confirmed is no longer a shock. Um, I still think it's a bummer. I like DC FanDome. I like having a day that's just dedicated to DC fans to get DC content. I'm going to miss it. And so I think it's a bummer. I don't necessarily buy conventions are back. I don't buy that as an excuse. I think that's just spin. I think that we're not spending the money on that because they don't want to spend money on anything right now. And also, it would be really hard to have a DC FanDome right now and try to hype up your DC content with the disarray that is happening over at Warner Brothers Discovery around DC. With stuff getting canceled, stuff getting delayed, big question marks around other stuff, there's not enough stuff to talk about confidently and in a good light. It would be really hard to do FanDome because of that. So I get that. But also, as DC fans and just as DC as a brand, we kind of need a win. We kind of need some good press after the past month. FanDome could have allowed for that. And so to let that window pass you by, I also think again, I get it, but I also think that could be a missed opportunity because right now it's a lot of bad news or mixed news, and you kind of need a way to build some excitement. And I don't think that's happening right now. And it's certainly now not going to happen with FanDome. So I have conflicting emotions about it. I'm bummed out. I do get it from a practicality standpoint because it's hard to hype up a slate when the slate is so in flux and such a mess. But man, DC, we're hurting right now and we needed some good news, and it could have been FanDome and it's not going to be. So, Jamie, what do you think?
All of it makes sense to me why FanDome is not happening this year. I get it. But to address some of the stuff that I've seen floating around by it, I just want to say to the people out there, FanDome isn't just a movie thing, right? Don't we do comics and TV shows and all that other stuff in FanDome? Isn't it like a universal DC umbrella that it's under?
Yeah.
So
I don't remember a lot of the comic stuff.
The
Though.
movies obviously are the big thing, right? They're the Hall H of FanDome.
Your point is valid. Yes, we did talk about comics, we did talk about TV, we talked about animation. There was stuff for Titans, there was stuff for Harley Quinn, there was stuff for Young Justice. But you're right. Coming out of that, the fact that Matt's like, I don't remember. The hype is around the movies. The rest is all just garnish.
Right. So again, I understand it, but couldn't we have scaled it down to a 2 or 3 hour event and covered the other bases outside of the movie realm?
I don't know.
I'm with you. I see both sides of it, Andy. I'm with you. We needed a win. Even having a FanDome there so that we know that it will be an annual tradition, and maybe next year we'll get some more movie, the quote Hall H content there. Just doing away with it altogether just feels like Zaslav wadding up another thing and throwing it in the damn wastebasket. And I'm getting real sick of that real fast. So, yeah. It's not that I don't understand the choice. It's just at this point, we'll take whatever we can get. We've literally reached that point of desperation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. We have reached that point of desperation.
I get being a little upset and bummed that it's not happening. And I get the feeling that it feels like another thing that they're just cost cutting. But when I sit and look at it, like, I don't know what FanDome would look like. There's no TV shows going on in the works right now. Like, I think they're working on more Doom Patrol and Titans, but there's been on that for a while. Like, they only just announced a new season of Harley Quinn. There's no animation going on. There's nothing to bring to the table for FanDome. There's nothing. There's not even Aquaman or The Flash, because those are so far out for next year. So I completely, and they could bring comics to the table, but like, how much are they going to talk about that to have a whole event, so
well, that's what I say. They can scale it down. It doesn't need to be a whole day. It can be 2 or 3 hours and cover whatever's there. Give a production update on Titans and or Doom Patrol, or give us some kind of an animated snippet of Harley Quinn season 4, which is probably way premature, but just have like Harley and Ivy there saying, "Hey, thanks guys for the support and watching our show, and we'll be back for season 4." And we just wanted to, let you know that we appreciate the love that you've shown us, or it's just anything. Anything. My God, I will take anything.
I get it, but I also see a world in which they do that, and then there's a lot of blowback because they bring nothing to the
Thank you.
table. I
Yes.
see a world. I see your
I was
point,
just
Jamie,
about to say that.
but if they
Yeah.
do that, everybody goes, "What the hell was that? You didn't bring us anything." Like I think it's 100% fine. Like it didn't upset me at all that they said no. If it doesn't come back next year when they actually have stuff to talk about, hopefully knock on wood, then I'll be like, "Oh man, that's a real bummer that they're not doing FanDome anymore." But for this year, it didn't move my needle at all.
And that's fine. I get that. And I'm not personally heartbroken over it, but now that we've basically not gotten it this year, and I've seen a lot of lukewarm reactions to even what we got last year. Are we even going to see another one? I don't think we will. That's the problem I've got. I think now that it's dead and nobody's going to miss it, why bring it back? And I think that's the argument that's going to come up next year.
Yeah, I think
at least from Zaslav's side of things.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it's dead. And again, that's why I think the convention thing is just spin, especially because they reduced their presence at Comic-Con this year.
DC didn't even have a booth.
Yeah. And the way we justified it was, and we, Holy BatCast, I know that there were a lot of fans who already were like, no, FanDome isn't coming back. And turns out they were right, is being like, well, they're, now that they have FanDome, they don't need as heavy a presence at Comic-Con. But now they're saying, oh, but now we have Comic-Con. I'm like, y'all, I don't think that's true. That's why I don't buy that. It does feel like a cost-cutting measure. And again, I'm not so mad that I don't understand the rationale, because I do understand the rationale. I agree with what you said, Matt. Like, Jamie, I would love to have gotten something, a pared down FanDome, but you're right. Then all we would get is people complaining of like, really, that's it? That's all you got for us? And it's like,
well, that's all people did last year, and we had a pretty good FanDome, I thought.
Yeah, I know, but
fans are going to fan. I mean, that's just how it goes.
I mean, and I've also seen the point, and I think it is very valid of like, if they did FanDome this year, what would they talk about? Shazam 2, The Flash, Aquaman 2, the same stuff we've talked about the past 2 years? Because there's nothing moving forward right now except Joker 2.
Yeah.
And that's have a whole panel about that then. I don't even care. I just something. I get it. I understand it. And business-wise and financially, I'm sure it's the correct decision. But as a fan, give me something.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because in previous FanDomes, and even prior to that, previous Comic-Cons, like we had a lot to talk about. We had a lot to celebrate. We had the movie slate, but we still had TV. We had the CW shows. We had DC Universe, which eventually became HBOMax. We had animation. We had a lot to talk about and a lot to celebrate. And you'll go back and listen to those shows. And when it was still in the Snyderverse, I was like, it's a great time to be a DC fan. And even post Snyderverse, there was still so much coming that I was like, it's a great time to be a DC fan. Right now, there's nothing coming. Right now, I have a hard time saying it's a good time to be a DC fan.
Agreed. Yeah.
That can change. I hope it changes. Again, a year from now, hopefully we'll have a new slate. We'll be moving forward on new content, new projects, and I'll be excited again. It'll be, you know what? Guess what? It is great to be a DC fan. But right now, this second, on September 4th, 2022, it's kind of a shitty time to be a DC fan.
I wish I could offer a counterpoint to that, but I can't.
Neither can I. I mean, we have all said it. They have nothing coming. Nothing that they could talk about in any capacity. Everything is like a year away at this point. So, yeah. Bummer.
I guess the best thing I can offer up is being a fan of DC is not unlike being a fan of your favorite football team. Because no matter how great your organization is or whatever dynasty they may have had, your team is going to go through ups and downs, and eventually you just hope that they rebuild to the same or greater glory that they once achieved. And as a Raiders fan, nobody knows what that feels like more than I do. So
I'm a
yeah,
Boston Red
I know
Sox
how to
fan. I
stick
know what
through.
that's like.
See, there, I'm not even a baseball guy, but I know exactly what you're talking about. So it's just one of those things. I know how to stick by my team when things are tough. So all I would ask is everybody else out there, and you can vent your frustrations. Lord knows I've said my fair share of bad things about the Raiders over the last 20 years. But the fact of the matter remains, I love that team. I will support that team no matter what. And I feel that way about my DC fandom too. It's tough, and we're in a rough patch right now. But all I can say is the rebuild could be glorious. We'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm looking forward to the rebuild because I like being excited about new DC stuff. You guys know that. This is I don't like
Having things
this
to look
what we're
forward
doing
to is
right now.
good.
Like,
Having things to look forward to
yeah.
is nice.
Yeah, it is. It's very good. Yeah. I will also say this just about fandom in general is it was also nice to just have a day that was dedicated to DC because when you are talking about Comic-Con or WonderCon or New York Comic-Con or whatever, when you're talking about these conventions, but it was always a big deal with San Diego Comic-Con, is the DC news was always great and we were excited about it, but you're also trying to fight the noise of all the other news from Comic-Con, Marvel Studios, and then anything else that's coming out of Comic-Con is you're trying to now compete with all of those and be something that everyone's talking about amongst all that other news. Whereas with FanDome, you were the only news that weekend. Like that was the focus. And even last year, when again, I mean, I thought what we got was great. I know not everyone agrees, and that's okay. But still, that was a weekend that was just about DC content, and you didn't have to worry about, oh, what's Marvel going to do to overshadow it, or what's this, or what, like I liked having a focused time to just celebrate what was coming for DC. And even though it doesn't make sense to do it this year because of the state of the DC world, it would be a shame to lose it in the future because then you are going right back to what happened this year at Comic-Con, right? They brought Black Adam and they brought Shazam. I liked what I saw, but all we saw was, oh man, look at the 1,000 things that Marvel brought and look at how sad DC is, just brought 2 things. And I don't necessarily think that's fair, but that's the narrative. And FanDome was a way to not have that narrative. And I think that, again, it's a bit short-sighted to lose that opportunity.
I mean, at this point, overall, I think Warner Brothers needs to stop taking L's because their biggest powerhouse franchises and talent are not delivering right now. So DC, obviously, we've talked about that enough. Well, we do a DC show, so not enough, but I mean, we've covered that base. The Harry Potter franchise, I haven't heard anybody say much nice about the last 2 of those. They don't have the Lord of the Rings franchise now. Amazon's got that. And obviously that's even taken its own poundings in a certain right, even though I do actually hear the show itself is quite good. I haven't watched yet. Clint Eastwood has been a staple for them for decades. I'm a Clint fan. I like a lot of his work, but I mean, he ain't getting no younger. We're on the outs with Chris Nolan from all I can tell. So like the only W that I've seen them take lately is the Matt Reeves thing. And that really felt more like damage control than a major exciting announcement. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and again, like the amount of bad news right now so outweighs the good news. The good news has been the Matt Reeves deal, right? And Joker 2 moving forward. And I guess the renewal of Harley Quinn. But the bad news right now still so outweighs all of that. And you need more wins than just that. And I know it's going to take time, and I get that, and I'm willing to be patient. But man, I just hope they're working hard on it because, yeah, like we need some good press. We need some stuff to be excited about.
Agreed.
All right, well, they just freed up everybody's calendars for FanDome. You're welcome.
Well, it is football season, so that'll work out all right for me, I suppose.
Yeah, it's haunt season, so there you go. I can do that.
Football 1 week from today, guys. Actually, kickoff's Thursday night, but the Raiders game 1 week from today.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, there you go. That's it. That's what I got for news. It was, like I said, a lot more than I was expecting.
Yeah, totally.
Anything I missed? You guys are like, wait, you forgot this.
No, famous last words. My friend says, if it's a short episode, so what?
Always. But we're not going to say goodbye just yet. We've got to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Daryl. What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
So, full disclosure, we only have a couple. And for those listening who are like, how can that be true? I wrote in a couple weeks ago. There is another episode in the can for next week where we cleared out the Wayne Manor mailbox. So what I've got today is what's come in post that recording. So if you're worried that your email is not read, give it another week because I had to record an episode in advance because next week I'm on a cruise.
Ooh, fancy.
And I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
I'm in heavy protest of this episode coming next week, and I'm not going to give away why, but it's not because Andy's going on a cruise or anything, but I felt like somebody backdoored me on that episode, and we'll cover that base later.
I'm going to give you guys more info about the next episode, which has already been recorded at the end of this episode. So stay tuned, so that way you know what we're talking about next week. But I wanted to at least give the warning out for those who wrote in, which was very nice of you. And if you hear your email, you're like, wait, did you just delete it? No, there's an episode that it's probably on that's coming next week. So just got a few here. The first one is from Nathan Toy. It says, I'm so excited. And the Holy BatCast community is the best place that I could find to share this. I'm a law student in Chicago. I just accepted an internship and possible permanent position with a law firm in the city. They're located in the building that was used as Wayne Tower in Batman Begins and is also the backdrop for the semi-truck Batpod scene in The Dark Knight. You best believe I'll be pretending I'm Bruce Wayne walking into that building every day. That is awesome, Nathan.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yes, congrats. But especially by being employed by such a good employer as Bruce Wayne. I hear the benefits package is quite good.
I've stood in the middle of that street before where the tractor trailer flip happened, so I know that building. I've looked right at it and gotten a picture of it. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nobody's asking the important question here, guys. How close is this office to Portillo's?
Good. That's a good question. Or Billy Goat's Tavern.
Or Billy Goat, yeah. Or Peace Pizza, or any number of eateries that you all have taken me to over the years, you and Roman.
Yep. Well, I think that's so cool. I love that you work in that building. Don't ever leave because, you got to work in Wayne Tower. So cool. It always bugged me in Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises that it was a different building.
Yeah. Why did they? Well, probably Bruce went ahead and bought a different tower, but I think that first one was a cooler looking building.
It was. Yeah, it totally was. I wish that all three movies would have had the same Wayne Tower, but
you fans are so fickle.
Yeah. I like my continuity. You know this. All right. Next question. First one wasn't really a question, but it was a fun tidbit thanks to Nathan. So this one is a question. It's from Josh Green. It says, greetings, Holy BatCast. I've been sitting on this question for a while, but I've decided to go ahead and ask it. For as long as I've interacted with the Real Fans community, whether it be Holy BatCast or any of the other Real Fans shows, movie scores seem to be a common interest. So my question is, what are your earliest memories of what you got into scores? For me personally, I would say John Williams's Star Wars scores got me into the world of scores, and I've never looked back. I'd love to hear your earliest memories. Anyway, sorry about the long email. You guys are awesome, Josh. Thanks, Josh. Yes, I affectionately refer to myself as a score whore. I love my movie scores. So early memories of loving movie scores, Jamie.
I mean, Star Wars has got to be the one for me because I love that music even as a very, very, very young child. And my grandmother, who I spent most of my days in the summer with, as you all have heard, she had this enclosed, screened-in patio on the side of the garage out behind the house. And there was a record player out there. Yes, vinyl, back before it was a hipster thing. It was back when it was the only thing you could listen to other than the radio. She had gotten me a couple of albums because she knew that I liked Star Wars. So whatever Star Wars content we could get, this was before home video was like a major thing or any of that. So she would buy me records for Star Wars, be it the Golden Books ones where you had like a book that you read along with as you listened to the little 45s, or the bigger LPs that had like the Star Wars disco theme on that. Y'all remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was one that she got me that had the Star Wars theme on it, the Jaws theme, the theme from the movie The Deep, and a few others. James Bond, I think it was The Spy Who Loved Me. It just had these, it was like a compilation album of various movie themes. And I listened to that one quite a bit too. So to me, that feels like really where my focus on movie music came from, even if I wasn't fully aware of it at the time. And then as I got older and more into things, I want to say where my shift really came focusing on it was probably around the time The Crow came out, because I loved that movie so much. I bought everything that had to do with that. And I still love that movie to this day. But they released, I believe it was Graham Revell that did the score for that. On top of having a fantastic, needle drop soundtrack to that film as well, the score was very good too. And I bought that. And well, I take it back. Before that would have been Batman '89. I definitely had that score. That was probably the first score that I ever bought, independent of everything else. And then after that, probably The Crow. And, after that, I just really got into movie scores just as their own thing. Even if it was a movie I wasn't crazy about, if the score was great, I'd be like, yeah, let's do this.
All right. Matt, are you into movie scores the way we are?
Not really. I have some movie score stuff, but it is mostly like, for example, I recently went on a trip, and when I go on trips, I bring my Kindle and I sit in the airport and read, and I sit on the airplane and read, and that is movie score music time because it is background sound, and also when I am writing. I'm writing something right now, and that is movie score music time. It is background sound, but I do have movie music I prefer, like anything by John Williams is really good. I really like the Wizard of Oz score. um yeah, it's Star Wars is John Williams. So Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Hook, Danny Elfman for Batman, and a couple other ones, and like the Back to the Future score I like, but I don't actively listen to them. I kind of passively listen to them while I am doing something involving reading or writing.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I love my movie scores, and I feel like I certainly always noticed them in movies, and I think it's very similar to the ones that you guys both mentioned. John Williams, I think, is the gateway drug for people in our generation, because of Star Wars, because of ET, because of Indiana Jones, right? Like those scores and those themes are just so iconic that they ingrain themselves in your mind, in the public consciousness, and I think that those are the ones that I think made us fall in love with movie scores. But the one that made me actually go, oh, I need to own this movie score is Batman from 1989. Of course it is. I've always said that it's a movie that made me it made me fall in love with Batman, but it made me fall in love with movies, and that includes scores. That whole opening credit sequence where you get that Batman theme, that Batman overture while you're going through the bat symbol, is just an amazing moment. And I remember sitting in the theater in 1989 while that was happening and just getting sucked in immediately because of that music and because of the visuals, but especially that music. And so I was obsessed with Batman, of course. Not much has changed, but I owned the Prince soundtrack on cassette tape. And I remember going, oh, they sell a version that just has the score. I need to own that. But it was much harder to find back then. Back then, movie scores were not as readily available. And so I don't think I started collecting them until I was in high school, when I was a teenager, when I had a little bit of disposable money because I was working at Pizza Hut. And I started collecting CDs, and that was when I really started buying movie scores. So I think Batman and Batman Returns were probably two of the first, if not the two first. They might have been, because they were Batman and they were Danny Elfman, and I loved that music anyway. And I would listen to it all the time. I'd listen to it while I read comics, while I played video games. It was always just great background music.
Was your Batman '89 a cassette or a CD?
CD. I don't think I ever owned it on cassette.
No, I had it on cassette, and honestly, frankly, I think maybe the reason I bought it was just for the cover art.
Yeah, because the cover of the Batwing on the moon.
Yep,
I love it. So yeah, fittingly enough, Batman was the one that also got me into movie scores, but I already appreciated them prior to that. But it wasn't until Batman that I really wanted to start owning them, and then I think I own more movie scores than I own real albums of anything else, because I listen to them all the time, to the point where I don't get to listen to them enough anymore. For the longest time, I'd always listen to them at work while I was working, because it was great to have the music, but it's not where it's going to distract you from your work. Another one that I listened to just endlessly was The Rocketeer, the James Horner score.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it was all those key superhero films that I fell in love with as a kid. So Batman, Batman Returns, The Rocketeer, Superman, the John Williams Superman score. Those were all the ones that I really fell in love with, and I had to start buying scores, and I've never looked back. So now I I buy a lot of scores sight unseen. I don't even wait for the movie. I just buy the score anyway, especially if it's a movie I'm excited about. But yeah, so it's its own thing, but I love it. And the scores for me are just as important as any other aspect of the film. And so it can elevate a film, and then I think it can detract from a film too if it doesn't quite live up to what you want it to be.
I'll tell you another one that got stuck in my head from the time I walked out of a theater 40 years ago and never left. And it's actually one of my favorite scores. And Matt will appreciate this one. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Ah, good choice. Good
nice
choice.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic score. I love it.
Yeah.
Like every note of that score, if I listen to that album, will be in my head for days. It's wonderful.
Jurassic Park. I mean, it's John Williams again, but Jurassic Park. To this day, I hum the Jurassic Park theme while I brush my teeth. It's just part of who I am. And the fact that they sold the Jurassic Park theme as a single on cassette just shows, like, A, how big that movie was, but also like how the whole world embraced that score. They could actually sell a part of the score as a single.
Cool.
All right. One last email here from Mark Bickford. It says, "Hey guys, I want to start with a couple of show notes. I recently started listening to earlier episodes of Holy BatCast, and while I'm immensely grateful that Andy no longer sounds like he's talking into a tin can telephone, two other things jumped out to me. First, while I absolutely love the theme music that Gaurav created for the show, I do miss the Elfman music in the closing. I just think that piece, as the camera zooms up to Batman, your new friend Carl, standing on the gargoyle by the bat signal, is one of the most beautiful pieces I've ever heard, and it was so perfectly evocative of Batman. Second, related to the question of which animated show you should cover next, in your very first episode, that was the one that just you and Jamie introducing yourselves, you said, we're going to talk about the animated series, we're going to talk about Batman, the Brave and the Bold. So unless you owe the Koala Kid some sort of extreme debt for the minimal effort he put into covering Batman Beyond, he said himself he only watched the ones that he was slated to talk about. I think the Brave and the Bold is kind of an unkept promise hanging out there, and maybe should be your next one. Plus, it's a purely fun show, and Lord knows we could use some fun in DC FanDome right now. While you guys are talking about Jamie and driving Miss Daisy, have you ever seen The Whales of August? It was filmed here in Portland, and while it's the furthest thing from a genre film, it's sort of a victory lap movie for its four main cast: Lillian Gish, Ann Sothern, Betty Davis, and Vincent Price. It was the final film for Gish and Sothern got a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination. It's not the sort of film that's going to get you pumped up on adrenaline, but it's definitely a good movie worth watching. Okay, couple questions. First, why do people shit on the first Aquaman movie and claim it's bad? I look at it this way. Before Man of Steel, Batman had 7 modern superhero movies. Superman had 5, plus TV shows that I can count. They were ripe for being re-examined. But Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash have never had their big normal superhero movies, and they deserve to have those before getting into the more Watchmen-like views of the big two that we got in the Snyder films. Personally, I think Aquaman is great, and I don't get why people think it wasn't. Any idea? Second, if you could choose one and only one of the following people to interview on Holy BatCast, which would it be? Michael Uslan or Jeff Johns? Finally, have you seen the stories, rumors that Legendary is possibly looking to end its relationship with Time Warner Discovery? If it's true and it happens, I think that's the dictionary definition of well and truly effed. And on that note, have you noticed that the Time Warner Discovery has the same initials as The Walking Dead? Seems prescient. Have a great week, Mark. Mark, that's a lot. A lot. All right, first thing first, I'm sorry that the early episode sounded like I was talking into a tin can. I'm sorry about that, but
that was back before we made the big bucks and got all this
yeah,
equipment.
we all improve our gear as we go. But I also love the music that Gorev created. But yeah, of course I miss the Danny Elfman theme. Like, yeah, I get it. We made a promise about the brave and the bold. That is interesting. But
I mean, do you want to tell them or should I?
I guess as good a time as any is the episode that has already been recorded. Me and Brendan talk about the first episode of The Batman, the animated series.
And I was not involved in this discussion nor decision, so again, I'm under protest here.
I like the Batman. I think that's a really good underrated show. So I'm excited to hear you guys talk about it personally.
Sometimes in every marriage you do something, you just give the other person a win. And for me and Brendan, it was this.
Okay, well, just be prepared because out of pure spite, no matter what I may actually think of the show, I'm going to treat this thing like he treated Batman Beyond, just on principle.
I do appreciate the minimal effort he put into covering Batman Beyond. That's hilarious. That's so funny. The Whales of August. No, I have not seen The Whales of August.
I've never even heard of it.
Same.
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I mean, it sounds like Jamie. It sounds like it might be right up your alley if it's similar to Driving Miss Daisy.
Y'all need to get off me about Driving Miss Daisy. That was a damn good movie.
All right. So the first Aquaman. I'm with you. I think the first the first. It's the only one we've seen. I think Aquaman. It's one of my favorite superhero movies. So people who say it's bad, I think are crazy pants. And do you know why I think it is? I think it's because it just goes to show how shitting on DC has become a national pastime for a bunch of fans. I think that's it. I think no matter what they made, people just can't wait to shit on them. Because I've seen people say that about Wonder Woman, which is also, I think, one of the best superhero movies ever made. But people just don't want to give DC any credit because of its reputation. And so, I think that some of those movies, but especially Aquaman and Wonder Woman, I think there are just some people that they're like, no, it's DC. I'm not giving you any credit. It sucks. Because that movie's great. And I'm standing by that.
If you see anybody saying Aquaman was bad, you are following the wrong people because I don't see that. That movie made all the money in the world. I don't know who you are seeing that thinks it is bad. I'm sure they exist, but you don't need that kind of negativity in your life. Get rid of those people.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, and I also don't think that everyone thinks that because to your point, it was a huge hit. But the reason I love it so much, I mean, there are a lot of reasons I love it so much, but somehow James Wan gave me everything I could have asked for in an Aquaman movie, in one movie. And somehow it does not feel overstuffed. There is so much in that movie. They touch on so much of Aquaman's world and his mythos, and it's fun and it's entertaining and it's funny, and it all works. It's perfectly balanced, even though there's so much in it. And that is a huge achievement. I love that movie. Jamie, any thoughts on this?
I mean, just to play devil's advocate, box office return is not a barometer of actual quality of a film.
That's true.
I mean, there's this movie that just made $3 billion recently that I thought was 2 hours and 45 minutes of trash surrounded by 10 minutes at the end of really good action. But anyway,
Okay.
Aquaman, yeah, I mean, people certainly are entitled to their opinions. If somebody doesn't like it, I mean, I'm the last guy in the world who's going to tell them they're not allowed to think that about a popular movie that made a lot of money. But I don't agree with that. I think it's an absolute blast. I think it's great. The only problem I really have with that movie is I think the desert sequence slows it down just a little bit, and the Pitbull song is atrociously awful. But other than that, I got nothing to complain about that film. I love the designs, the characters, the actors, the action sequences. I think it's fantastic, and I've enjoyed it every bit as much from first viewing to most recent.
Yeah, I know.
But I think you're right. I mean, people will just jump on anything they can, and right now, I'm not seeing that just being a DC exclusive thing. I mean, people right now, the trend that they're doing that's making me crazy is jumping on something that they haven't even seen. Mm-hmm. Like all the people that jumped on Morbius that never saw Morbius. Listen, Morbius for me wasn't great, but I enjoyed it.
I liked it.
But most of the people that jumped on Morbius's ass never saw Morbius. So why does anybody care what they think about that movie? Formulate your own opinions.
Yeah.
She-Hulk. There's people dogging on She-Hulk that haven't watched a frame of She-Hulk because, somebody said it had bad CGI. So what?
Dude,
watch the show. Good. It's fun.
That's just another.
I'm having a blast with that show.
That's just another example of people wanting to, and maybe this goes back with Aquaman too. I think there is a trend in online fandom, not at large, just in online fandom, to be edgelordy, to be like, oh, that's so cheesy and campy, like it's not dark and real, and like that doesn't work for every character, and it never has. And so to shit on, for example, Aquaman because it's light and fun and popcorny, what do you want? You want Aquaman like with, actually I was about to say, do you want Aquaman with a hook spearing people with it? And then I thought about that for a second. And I'm like, well, yeah, actually I kind of do. But like that wouldn't be an Aquaman movie if it was like dark and bloody and emo. And like, I think online fandom tends toward 15-year-old boys' idea of what is awesome and cool and edgelordy. Like I think that's the only word for it.
And that's appropriate because when I was reading comics, in my late preteens, early teens, I wanted Batman to be the Punisher. I wanted him to start twisting mofos' heads off and stuff. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I also think that, it bears repeating, and I know that we all know this intellectually, but we can still forget it, is the internet, or your sampling of the internet is not representative of the real world. It is not representative of the majority of opinions out there. You're like, yeah, it's a bubble. So if you follow, 100 people and 3 of them shit on Aquaman, you're like, man, why do people hate Aquaman? What the hell? And that's 3 out of 100. but because they're vocal about it, it makes it seem like it's more than it is. And I think that is often true of a lot of things like this, where the perception is off just because of the sampling. So yeah, I feel like the majority of people liked Aquaman, and some of us with really good taste loved it. And for people who hated it, man, if you can hate that movie, like you're no fun, and I don't want to hang out with you anyway.
Yeah, that.
If we could interview Michael Uslan or Jeff Johns for a Holy BatCast, I'm gonna cheat and say both because Michael Uslan, we wouldn't have all the Batman films that we have today if it weren't for Michael Uslan, and I want to talk to him about that. He also wrote an amazing book that I love called The Boy Who Loved Batman. I have it signed by him. I did get to meet him a couple of times and got a signed copy of the book. But I just would love to talk to him about his passion for the character and to also just share our appreciation for everything he's done for the character. And Jeff Johns, I think, would be a trickier conversation just because of everything that happened with him being put in place in DC films, but not for long and everything. But you can't deny his contribution to the DC mythos. And I'd love to talk to him about that. I think he has such great, unique takes on the DC universe. And I'd love to talk to him about that. And with a little bit of time, I would love to talk to him about his time with the DC films. After it's been long enough that he could just be very frank and honest about it. I don't know if it's been long enough that he could do that, but I would love to get his side of the story. And maybe that's bad because, much like Ezra Miller, everybody's already decided what a villain this guy is, even though we haven't heard from him. I'd like to hear from him. I'd like to give him a shot to share his side of the story.
Yeah, for Holy BatCast, I think Michael Uslan would be the one you would obviously want to get first. And I'd be personally perfectly happy to talk to Michael Uslan. But on a personal level, just because I do talk about Batman so much, that's the main character I have discussions about, I'd be super personally interested to talk to Jeff Johns, because after Batman, I am a huge Green Lantern fan. And of course, Jeff Johns famously revitalized Green Lantern and had a huge, long, successful, fantastic Green Lantern run. And I'd like to get to sit and talk to Jeff Johns about Green Lantern for a while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything to add there, Jamie?
I want to do the same as you and say both as a cheat, because I mean, both would be an awesome discussion. I mean, Uslan with the movies, I mean, that in itself speaks, but to get some of his, I'm not a big reader unless it's an illustrated book, which, if you want to give me Uslan's biography illustrated by Jim Lee, I'm all in, but just, reading a textbook, no, I'm not going to probably get into that, but having a conversation about him, I think about that would be a really good time. The Johns thing, I mean, taking all the stuff involved with WB out of the picture, I could sit down and have a 3-hour conversation with him just about that Green Lantern run, because that is one of my favorite comic book runs of all time.
So good, man.
I adore every panel of that book, from what they call it, Reborn or Rebirth,
yeah,
all the way through Brightest Day. I mean, that was years worth of books, and every one of them was high quality, top shelf stuff for me.
Yep, same.
But I'm a big Hal guy, and Hal was a big focus there. So, but he didn't ignore the other Lanterns either. Like, he embraced the entire.
He wrote them all really well.
yeah. Kilowog and Arisia and Larfleeze and the Red Lanterns and Sinestro, and I mean, just on and on and on. The stuff that he did, like you could make an ongoing animated or live action series just based on the run that he did.
Absolutely. And he added so much to the Green Lantern. Like, there wasn't a rainbow of colors before there was Jeff Johns. Like, he invented Atrocitus, for crying out loud, in the Red Lantern Corps. And Larfleeze and
great character. Really cool. Yes.
And
yep.
Gave Guy Gardner some of the best stuff in years. When actually, was this post Jeff Johns when Guy Gardner became a Red Lantern? But still, even so, Guy wouldn't have become a Red Lantern if Jeff Johns hadn't invented the whole Red Lantern Corps. So,
yeah, I mean, to go back to the original question, Matt, you bring up a great point. For Holy BatCast, Michael Uslan is probably a better choice because it's more Batman focused. Because Jeff Johns, even though he was a big DC guy, especially Green Lantern, like you said, he didn't do a ton with Batman. He did the Earth One books,
and he kind of famously doesn't like Batman. Like, that's his one thing.
I've heard that, but I don't know I've even brought it up on the show a couple times because I've seen people say that or speculate about it, but I'm simply not sure if it's true. I really think more of what it was is Johns went to whoever was running DC Comics at the time and said, listen, you've got a vast, expansive universe of really awesome characters out there that nobody wants to give any credit or attention to. Give me the characters that nobody else wants and let me get to work.
Yeah.
So he took, Green Lantern and the Legion of Superheroes and just all of these.
He made Vibe cool.
Yeah, no, but I do feel like even before he wrote Earth One, I feel like I remember a comment from him that he was writing it simply because he didn't really love Batman and wanted to see. I would have to look it up. I would have to fact check myself, but I feel like I remember reading that.
All right. Well, one last question here, and this is great because this is more news that I forgot to bring up. Is that Legendary is looking to work with another studio that isn't WB anymore. Gee, I wonder why. But this is kind of the point I was making earlier. Is like all of these decisions they're making to essentially try to help their debt. All they're doing is burning bridges with talent.
I think that's a little bit of a two-way street there, though. Too. I don't think that's 100% of WB shouldering the brunt of blame there.
Why is that?
Well, Legendary is Chris Nolan's company, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, Syncope.
Oh yeah, that's right. Syncope.
Okay.
Legendary does the Godzilla films.
Yeah, Legendary does the MonsterVerse. Jamie, you should know that.
Well, I knew that. I thought Nolan was somehow involved with it, but
no, that was Syncope.
My point is completely moot then. So
okay.
Forget I said anything.
I mean, Legendary and WB have had a very good relationship thinking about the MonsterVerse films and things, and the fact that their contract is up and Legendary doesn't seem to want to renew it. Again, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face over there. All right. That's it. That's it. Closing the mailbox. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody who wrote in. If you have something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Always good to hear from you guys. As I said, next week, going on a cruise. It's going to be a Halloween cruise, and I'm so excited. So last week, me and Brendan recorded something that was less time sensitive that I could release. So that way you've got a new episode while I am sitting on deck, sipping a drink and not thinking about work or podcasts for that matter.
You're taking your kid with you on this cruise, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. She was allowed to cruise once she turned 6 months, and we're going on a cruise when she is 6.5 months. So
timely.
Yeah, jumped right on that. So anyway, I can't wait for that. But me and Brendan, we reviewed the very first episode of The Batman, which I think is called The Bat in the Belfry, something like that. And then we caught up on a lot of emails. So that's next week. So if you do want to catch up, The Batman is on HBOMax for now. You can watch it there. Watch the first episode because me and Brendan talk about it. And I let him win. Just tired of listening to it. And so we're going to review The Batman next.
Okay, I'm just saying, if it gets pulled from HBO Max, I don't own it and I'm not buying it. I'm just putting that out there. I own Brave and the Bold, so I got that covered no matter what. So,
all right.
You all made your bed. Now you got to lie
in it. Well, there you have it. So there you go, Brendan. You win. I hope you're happy. Good for you. But that's where we're going to wrap up this episode of Holy BatCast. Thank God it was a short one. Am I right, guys? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, Matt, thanks for joining us. Thanks for making the time from your busy schedule. Yeah. And I mean, it's September. So me and Jamie, we're ready to celebrate fall and Halloween. Are you already jumping to Christmas?
No, I love Halloween. I'm participating in Scare-a-thon. And I'm always, Andy, I'm always ready to jump right to Christmas. I just got back from Santa school. So
I know. I was going to say, like Matt loves Christmas so much. You make Tim Allen look like a rabbi.
Yeah, I do. Very true. I'm ready for Halloween as well. I do love spooky season, but I'm always Christmasing all year round.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're glad you could join us and tell our friends where they can hear you talk about Christmas and other things.
Okay, yeah. I have 3 podcasts. The first one, the OG podcast, is the Two Broke Geeks podcast that I do with my friend Justin. It's just a general pop culture type podcast, a little bit like Holy BatCast with a lot more dick jokes. And then we do a podcast called The FBI's Most Unwanted. Justin and I do. That is an X-Files rewatch show. Well, for me, it's a rewatch show. For Justin, it's the first time through. I kind of lifted the format of Why Not Futurama. Only one of us had never seen the show at all. And I'm giving my thoughts on my, who knows how many times I've been through the show. And he's giving his thoughts on the first time through the show. We're in season 4 right now of the X-Files. And then my final show for anyone that is interested, is called North Pole Radio. And as I alluded to a moment ago, at Christmas time, I am a professional Santa Claus. I perform for kids and adults and everything. I do home visits and I do virtual visits, and and as a result, I know a lot of other people who portray Santa Claus. And so mostly on North Pole Radio, I talk to those folks, but I also have some specials where I talk about films. Like I did a St. Patrick's Day special where Michael Lyons and I talked about Darby O'Gill and the Little People. And I've talked about the Easter Bunny is coming to town. And I've talked about Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July. And so, yeah. And you can find all of those podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. They're on everything.
All right. And where can they follow you on Twitter and such?
If they want to follow me on Twitter, I am at Ace of Knaves 88. Actually, I'm also Ace of Knaves 88 over on Instagram. And if they want to follow Santa on TikTok, they can do that at Green Mountain Santa. Because I am under 40, but also at one of the Santa schools I went to, we were talking about marketing, and TikTok is a great way to get new potential customers on your business. So I made a TikTok.
That's what I hear. Yeah. And I do believe it, but I just,
I was resistant to the whole thing. And then once I finally started doing it, I was like, okay, I can have some fun with this.
And I'm not shading people who watch TikTok. I'm really not, but I'm like, I can't watch videos because of sound and stuff. Like, so I just don't.
I don't watch it. I don't really watch it. I just create for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just like I do have friends who are like, oh yeah, I just watch TikTok for an hour. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like if I have an hour, I'm going to watch a show. Or half a movie. Anyway, Jamie, thank you as well as always. Please tell our friends where they can find you.
I'm on Twitter at BatRaider3960, and I do have to ask. He said he performs for adults. Matt, does that mean like you have adults sit on your lap, or are we talking performances like the Justin? What's his name in Bad Mom?
Oh, Christmas? No. Like when I say I perform for adults, I mean like I went to a home last year and they were having just like a Christmas party, and there were only a couple kids there, but there were also a lot of adults there. And the adults, once I get going and telling stories and everything, adults tend to gather around as well as the kids. So
yeah. I see. I mean, there are adults that refuse to grow up when it comes to the concept of Christmas and the magic of it. So I get that. Andy and I participate.
It's a great feeling to be able to hook in. You know, they think they're having Santa come over just for their kids, and then it's a great feeling to know I hook them in too. That's like the performer's dream right there, is just hook in the entire room.
Absolutely. But the thing with us, I think I speak for Andy here. I don't know. I'm definitely speaking for me. Halloween is like a 10-month process for me. Christmas is like a 2-month process.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's 3 seasons. There's Halloween season, there's Christmas, and then there's waiting for Halloween season.
I understand.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Sorry, Jamie, did you give your info, or you got
Yeah, I gave my Twitter.
Distracted. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
I'm kind of ducking Twitter right now again.
So. You're not wrong for that. Anyway, guys,
I find it's fantastic for your mental well-being not being on there every day. So.
Yep. Anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks for downloading the show or listening or streaming or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for joining us is what I'm trying to say. So thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Please don't forget to subscribe or follow the show wherever you do get your podcasts. And if you love the show, another thing you can do to support us is just leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. We'd appreciate that. You can always go to holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Again, if you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the very talented Gaurav Venkateswar. His work can be found at gvtunes.com. And don't forget, if you're going to do any online shopping this week when you're avoiding work, that's okay. I support you, but go check out manscaped.com. And if you're going to make a purchase, please use the promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and for free shipping. But that'll do it. On behalf of Jamie and Matt, I've been Andy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.